Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast, making a positive difference in learning through innovation.
Welcome to the Innovation Squadcast. Thanks for making us part of your educational PD journey. Today, we dive into the top 12 effective teaching strategies with a technology twist. We are thrilled to have you join us today as we explore the groundbreaking work of Professor John Hattie. John Hattie's meta-analysis, covering over 1,200 studies and millions of students, have given us clear insights into the teaching strategies that have the biggest impact on student engagement and achievement. In this episode, we'll unpack some of those powerful techniques and discuss how you, as an educator, can leverage technology to seamlessly incorporate them into your classroom. Whether you're looking to refresh your instructional approach or discover new ways to engage and support your students, this episode is packed with practical insights you won't want to miss. I am Jimmy Kate.
I'm Pam Hubler.
And Pam brought this to us, and these strategies have been found in lots of different places. I know in our books, the student led by Doctors Novak and Tucker talk a lot about some of these particular strategies. But I think taking them and then adding that technology twist is going to be really important, because that's what it's all about, is getting our students effective. So, break us down into some of how you learned about it and some of the key aspects of John Hattie's work.
All right. This is one of those things that I've seen for years. I was an instructional coach before I became an innovative learning coordinator. And this is something that we were shown often to help the teachers in school to pick strategies that were worth the most, using their time wisely, basically.
Right.
Spending a whole lot of time where they're just sitting and getting, that doesn't have a super high effect. So talking about the different ways that we can use those strategies that are most effective. And then when we talk about technology integration, we don't want that to be something that's just in addition to, just like how can we use technology just to support those things? And that's what our kids are used to, and that's what they like. So how can we kind of mix both worlds together, kind of integrating those 4 C's, which is really in all of these without even saying that it is.
Right.
So,
and getting the kids creating, not consuming with technology is always one of the big goals, and this can definitely help with that as well. So.
And Hattie has it's linked in the show notes, but
check out
has a really cool visual where it has the whole table of the different strategies. They call it the influence, as far as whether it's, let's say, jigsaw method, which we're going to talk about. And then there are different domains. So it might be something that the teacher focuses on, or maybe the school should focus on, or something that you teach the student to actually understand how to use for themselves. But the ones that we're going to talk about are in the teaching part, where it's focusing on teaching instructional strategies. So it's just the strategies that we're going to focus on today. But you got to definitely check out the visual if you want to get some more ideas.
Yep. So definitely check out the show note for that, and go through and look at all these different ways that you can affect your student outcome, which is again what the whole purpose of us being here for. So, so looking at integrating these high impact strategies supported by research, we're going to go through what we've kind of found as the top 12 from his research, and then also some examples of how you can use technology to help enhance that. And the first one is the cognitive task analysis. And this is a method used to break down complex tasks into smaller, manageable components, allowing to better understand instruction. And so thinking about, using, if you're using Magic School, this would definitely be one of the places that you could, bring this in. All right, how can I break this down? And Magic School would probably help you do that as well. This is also about creating interactive models using kind of screencastify videos, taking some videos, bringing them to YouTube, having access to different simulations or interactives. That would be a really great way to do that as well. Through Schoology, through different methods, you can definitely break things down into much smaller tasks as well. I think, whenever, you make a video, give that video for, a 3-minute, 4-minute chunk, maybe they can focus on it and then, move on to something else that way as well.
Right. And I love one of the things that you have access to in Schoology is the CK12 simulations. And they're really cool, especially for math and science and social studies. And so, and you can even enable grading in those. So it kind of makes it nice where the kids enjoy them, but then you can also get the information out of it that you need.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely break things down into smaller, complex tasks that will help increase that engagement and interaction. Number 2.
Yes, jigsaw method. And this is one of those things I think we've all seen many times, even
Yes.
if it's just through professional development.
Yep.
And I do remember I didn't love this. I thought it was kind of weird because I wanted to read all of it. But the amount of time you have when you're really trying to learn something, it is actually an effective strategy.
Yes.
And all it is it's basically an instructional strategy where students become like the experts in one part of a topic and then teach it to their peers, promoting that collaborative learning. So I think what makes it so effective is that you're processing a small part of it, and then you are explaining it to your, the other students in the class. And so, but then you're also learning from each other.
Yep.
So when that's, a lot of the 4 C's are included there.
Yes.
So what we thought would be a good use, you've got the Google Docs, Google Drawings, slides, all those things, or even Lumio. Lumio is one of those tools I think we forget about often, to share findings in like that collaborative environment. So where you could have like an entire class using one document. And I actually think I have a template. I do. There's a Jigsaw activity template that's a Google Slide template where you can automatically use it. And then Lumio is another one. If you look at the Lumio library, there's all sorts of templates that you can use that are also effective for this jigsaw method. And I did find one. This is actually a template already, the same template that's in the slides.
Okay.
It's created so you can just save it to your library and you can use it where it's interactive.
Nice.
So that's really nice. And if you need any help with Lumio as far as how you can use it with your students, reach out to one of your ILCs. We've been more than happy to help you use that.
Yes. Yeah. I think anytime you get students teaching something to other students, I know we used to do like a teacher for the day project. So like the kids would sign up and I would assign them a certain task and they'd have to teach the whole class. And years later, I'd have students come back. I remember when I had to teach that they remember their topic. They remember the person doing the teaching sometimes is learning more. And I think the more we can get our kids teaching it, the more they're going to internalize it. So that's definitely one of a key strategy. And I think Jigsaw definitely helps that in a much
gives them that productive struggle too.
Yes, it does. So, and it puts a little bit of pressure on them because if they're going to be in a group, they've got to do their part, and that's going to add that little extra bit of engagement and interaction needed to again increase that level of knowledge. So, all right, number 3, integrating strategies with prior knowledge. So connecting new information to existing knowledge to enhance understanding, and so using concept maps through Lumio, Google Templates, Adobe Express has some of those as well. You can also create your own concept maps in Canva and be able to let your kids use those. So that's a good place to do it. Connecting it to prior knowledge, I think, is also one of the tools in Magic School AI, being able to connect things to prior knowledge. So if you've got a certain topic that you want that to happen, you can plug it into Magic School and you would be able to use that as well. So, taking things that they already know, connecting it to things that are new will help increase that engagement, interaction, and also that cognitive level as well.
Yeah, and that's something that we used to do with chart paper, where it's basically, what do you know, the KWL, old school. You can still do that.
Yep, those work. All right, number 4, Pam.
All right, next strategy is our transfer strategies. And the definition of this one is they're techniques that help students apply knowledge or skills learned in one context to a new situation. And this is one of those we've talked about many times with Magic School AI, the real world connections.
Yes.
That is super helpful because then they have that concept that might seem a little bit, I don't know, they get it, but how does that affect me in the real world?
Right.
That can give you a lot of great ideas for just to make sense out of it. And then with Magic School AI, this is one of those where you'd want to create the student room. And we did link the video if you haven't done it yet on how you can actually start that, or again, reach out to one of your ILCs.
This is where I would do in my projects. I would always scaffold it, and I'd start out with doing some kind of green screen video or some kind of video creation, and then we'd keep scaling it up and then we talk about research, and we talk about podcasting, and then we get to the big project, which was our virtual museum, and then they had to put all those skills together into one big project. So, building those skills, building those, those strategies are going to be some part of that. So thinking about, what's the end goal, and then what little things can we do to get there, which also goes back to that first strategy that we had, breaking them down into smaller ones. So strategy number 5, seeking help from peers, and encouraging students, looking at the definition, to ask questions and collaborate with classmates to enhance learning. If you look at pretty much any study of any educational thing, they'll talk about how collaboration always increases engagement, increases interaction, leads to higher student achievement. You know, that's just pretty much across the board, whether it's in a makerspace, whether it's in doing a project, having any kind of discussion, anything like that, which we'll talk about in just a second. You know, the ability to implement those discussions, whether they're in class through some kind of Socratic, method, whether they're a discussion thread through Schoology. This will help students learn from each other. It also helps reinforce your digital citizenship skills as well. But being able to, again, ask questions, collaborate with each other helps tremendously. There's no doubt on that in any way. Every time I've ever increased collaboration, I've seen growth. So.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's a good one.
All right, strategy 6.
Yes, classroom discussion. It kind of goes along with that,
yes,
seeking help from the peers. The only difference, this one is talking about a method of teaching that involves open dialogue between students and teachers to explore topic in depth. So going a little deeper. And so one of the interactive platforms like Lumio, or again, the Schoology discussions, you can have some of those engaging discussions. And then group Google Slides or Docs can also be used, because that's one of those things that I think when everyone is working on the same document, and yes, it seems a little chaotic at first, but I think the older they get, the more they get how they work in one of those documents. Then you're kind of giving each kid a little bit of autonomy in the discussion, where it's not all being led just by the teacher. Yeah.
And I think teachers sometimes get nervous of giving that open dialogue, because it does take a little bit of practice on you as the moderator of a discussion. I would definitely say you set kind of, standard procedures. You have ways of making, all right, so if I need this person to talk, I'm going to call, making sure that everyone is heard, not letting one person dominate. So you kind of have that open discussion, start small, right? Also just do kind of one little, the first time I did it, I just did we just set a big circle, and we just went left to right and just kind of give everybody a chance. And then you start ping ponging back and forth. So you kind of set your standing up procedures, start small, make sure that you, again, set up those procedures ahead of time. But classroom discussions sometimes were some of my favorite and things in the classroom. So.
I think you can learn a lot about your kids then, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's especially once they get comfortable. I like how you said that you had them all kind of go around first, because then once they each talk, I think it kind of breaks the ice, and then they're able to just kind of have more natural conversations.
All right, number 7, scaffolding. This is providing temporary support for students as they develop new skills or concepts, gradually removing assistance as they gain independence. And again, another one of our Magic School tools, and so this is turning into a little bit of a Magic School uses as well. Some of the tools and availables through either the chatbot or, again, some of the tools. One of them is an assignment scaffolder that help you break down a lesson plan to offer tailored support based on individual student needs. So you could take that lesson plan that you've got, you could actually attach it, you could say break this down, or you can just put in different ideas, and then once they give you those ideas, they can break it down. There's also a text scaffolding available as well, for you to tailor reading passages to students and help them kind of, be able to gain that information so that they can, you can get those skills. So.
And I think scaffolding is one of those things that when you already know the content as a teacher, it makes sense to do it all at one time.
Right.
But so sometimes you need help as a teacher to be able to break it down a little simpler for the students.
Anytime you can remove barriers for students from learning, you should take that opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
All right, strategy 8.
All right, summarization. And this one is just the process of kind of distilling information down to its essential points to enhance comprehension and retention. So basically what we're talking about is encouraging the use of tools like Screencastify or Schoology videos, assignments, so that way they can create video summaries, allowing students to articulate their understanding.
They could do a podcast.
Yes, they could do a podcast too. You're right. I'll have to add that in there. Any of those where they really have to process the information and summarize it. And I think the summarizer, so I forget which tool it is. Is it?
I think it is Summarize it.
Okay, Summarize. Oh, Summarize it. Yep. Yeah. In Magic School, they have one for the students where Summarize it. So if they do get a little too wordy, they can just put their information that they put together, paste it in there, and it'll kind of summarize it for them. And of course, you want them to kind of look at it, see, does that still sound like me? And how they need to personalize it. So
video creation is great for this as well. You got, you give them 5 different, 20 minutes. You got 1 minute to tell me about this particular topic, and then have to do it in so many ways, and give them that little challenge of coming up with it. And you'll be surprised at how much you can pack into a minute of video, with, and being able to synthesize that information. So
and we just did or had a session called Flipgrid Alternatives, because we all really miss Flipgrid.
Yes.
So that's one of those that we'll do a future podcast on that, so that we can get some more ideas on how you can use what we already have to replace Flipgrid.
Correct. Strategy 9, effort. Degree of energy and commitment a student invests in their learning process. I always say the one thing that students can control more than anything else is their effort, and I always would teach that in the classroom. So, and again, being able to track progress through badging is a great way sometimes to motivate your students. I think gamification is a great way to motivate your students and put forth a little bit effort. We did like mock Survivor in my classroom, and we had tribes, and we vote people off, and I knew that I had something special. I was doing it for I think it was the second time around that I had done it, and students like, I never studied for tests or study for anything else, but we knew it was going to be a Survivor Day. I studied because they had that extra motivation to do well. So that's all. And again, then that's all I wanted. So adding gamification can help with that as well.
And the badges, they seem so simple, and I think sometimes as a teacher, you're like, why? It's literally like giving them a sticker.
Yes.
But think of how you were even as a kid. Like, there were some things I would do for a sticker, and I still do for badges.
There's still things people would do today. High school all the way down would enjoy all of that. So.
Yep. All right, number 10, we've got mnemonics. And this is one of those that I think we've all, especially in college, like that's one of the things that you have to create, the mnemonics. I always say it wrong. Is that right?
Mnemonics is right.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, if I'm wrong, sorry.
Email us and tell us we're wrong.
Exactly. Memory aids that help students retain information through associations, acronyms, or visualization.
Yes.
So things like Quizlet or Magic School AI, they can actually help create them. So, because sometimes it's hard to actually think of making one up unless your teacher gives it to you.
Yeah.
Being able to create them yourself, you definitely will remember things more often.
Yep. And this is, again, great videos that you can do with video creation, like with Adobe Express, where the kids can make their own mnemonics. Even like an ABC book kind of thing. A mnemonic book in Book Creator would also be another one that you could that I've had students do. So to remember certain little things. So
did you have a certain one that you would teach your kids? I'm trying to think of an example of some of the ones that we would do. Kind of like when you're trying to remember the directions. Even
the planets has the one. Yeah, you can do it easy. Yeah, mnemonic book with that one.
Or the what was that? Never eat soggy waffles.
Yeah,
remember
for the
that
cardinal
with the
directions.
northeast.
Yes. Yeah, I still use that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So, all right, number 11, planning and prediction. The act of preparing for tasks by listing steps, and anticipating possible results. And so, so if you got students, being able to think through the process, create a video that takes you through the process is great for this as well. Having kids produce checklists for projects is also a great way for them to be able to break down that kind of smaller task and then be able to come up with those results. So longer assignments, give them some checklists, using the Schoology calendar or events to, again, separate parts from projects and due dates. And then teach students how to use, again, some kind of calendar or agenda to help manage their time is definitely a work and life skill that is important that we all use, that the sooner we can teach them how to do that, I think the better. So
yeah, and that's when, since you have to put a due date in for Schoology for your assignments to go to where you want them in the grade book, that's one thing. I've even had that conversation with my own child. I mean, he's a junior in high school, but still, like, look at that calendar or look at everything upcoming just so that way you can plan ahead. Because if that's not a natural tendency for you, and I'm one of those people, it can get ahead of you real quick. So we got to teach them.
Teach them how to do that, how to prioritize and execute and get things done. So.
Yes, that's what we go to Jimmy for.
All right. And our last strategy, last but not least.
Feedback. And this is one I think is harped on so much, and it's so true. Even in the 4.0 rubric that is used for evaluation for teachers, it's huge in there. And that's just information provided to the students about their performance to guide improvement in learning. So some of the things that you could do, like online assessment tools. We've got Google Forms, we have Google Assessments, Formative, and they all give feedback. And I think the biggest thing is that to do it quickly.
Yes.
So whatever strategy you can use as a teacher to give that to them quickly where it's not putting extra work on you.
Yep.
And I think you get a lot more out of it for the students. And rubrics, that's another thing. That's very specific feedback. And I mean, even giving that to them ahead of time before they do assignments, they know what's expected of them.
And then even using the Magic School, I think feedback tool would be good here for writing. There's ways to put rubrics into the writing and let students have that. One of the Magic School tools for students is the writing feedback, and that instant feedback isn't, again, the end all be all, but it could be something that they're going to learn from that. And the English teachers that I've talked to have said mostly positive things about the writing feedback. I haven't heard, anything that, they're not giving them that awful information. The information has been pretty positive so far with that as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and even just doing, and this is supposed to be about technology, but the non-technology way, to have an individual conference with students, I saw the biggest, jumps in the writing between, we would write, the initial essays and then, give some feedback. And then the second one, I let them also do on their own. But then between that second and third one, I do individual conferences. I would see the biggest jumps between that, just having that individual conference and providing that feedback one-on-one, going over their essays and what I needed to see, looking at the rubric, and so that I believe in this more than anything else. I always said that the biggest jumps I had were, again, in those individual conferences. So.
Yeah, it's important, and I think that gives them the one-on-one time to make them feel that you're really talking to them. It's not in general. It's not this is what's expected of this assignment. It's more what's expected of you.
Right.
So it's definitely a little more personal.
And I had flipped classrooms, so I had the ability to do that. If you're not flipping your classroom, and then again using technology, maybe you make a quick little video using, Screencastify and send that to each one of your students so that they can see that feedback is video. And I think you can provide feedback for assignments through Schoology as well for some of them as well.
Yeah,
so,
and I think I've got the little audio video kind of thing. Even if you don't want to do video, you can do audio as well.
Just
and
provide that individual feedback. Yeah.
Even messages have that option. So, and our kids like to click on that little number. They're like, oh, I have a message.
Yes. Yep. So hopefully you learned some strategies to integrate technology in using these, again, cognitive and engagement and collaborative and effective learning strategies by John Hattie. So my call to action to you guys, our call to action is try as many of these strategies in your classroom as you can, right? Get that engagement, get that collaboration, let your students remove some of those barriers and increase that student achievement across the board. So please reach out to your ILCs if you have any questions or you really want to kind of incorporate some of these ideas. We're more than happy to help incorporate some of these strategies into your class and teach the tech part of it too, so that you don't have to worry about the tech part. You can worry about your subject, and we can kind of help with that as well. So anything else you needed to add?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thanks for bringing it to our attention. We hope everyone found today's episode insightful and inspiring. Don't forget to check out the show notes for the resources that we've got there. We also have a link to the podcast video if you were just listening. And we also have a link to the Innovation Squadcast PD available in Unified Talent. For every 2 episodes, you get 1 hour of renewal credit by filling out the Google form that's available through the Unified Talent. Stay connected. Subscribe to our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And we want to hear from you. We want your ideas. What are your podcast ideas do you want to hear? Do you want to be on the podcast? Do you want to be a guest? You can come into the studio. Or we'll come to you. So share your thoughts with us. We're excited to engage with our teachers. All right. Until next time, keep innovating. Bye.
Bye.